Hey everybody, Ash here with Gents. Today I've got a fragrance review for you for what is being hyped as the greatest Aventus clone of all time. The holy grail of all Aventus clones. And originally I was not even going to do this review because anytime that you mention this house it opens a huge bag of worms. Can of worms. But after thinking about it I decided screw it. So here it is, my take on Dua Fragrance's Poseidon's Elixir 13ZZ. And I want to just go ahead and get some things out of the way really quickly. I've actually never done a video on Dua before, and this is the first fragrance I've ever smelled from the house. Also, there's no ulterior motive here where I hate them and I'm out to get them or anything like that. Massam Raza, the owner of Dua, has actually reached out to me in the past and offered to send me fragrances for review, and at the time I decided not to take him up on that. So it goes without saying, this one was not sent to me for review by Dua. Basically, I've just decided to steer clear of covering them because there's so much drama associated with the house. And now look at me, doing this video like an idiot. So yeah, I'm not out to get them, but at the same time, I don't feel like I owe them anything. Now the bottles that Dua fragrances come in, these are Decant bottles purchased from China. They run about $1.25 each, and a lot of the people that decant fragrances on Facebook groups use these same bottles. So they're not anything special, it's just a typical decant bottle. So some people may care about that, others won't. You can see like my atomizer, it's a little bit crooked. The cap is just a very flimsy plastic cap. And it's your typical square, plain 30 ml bottle. Dua fragrances have upped their label game. If you look at their earlier bottles, you can see the labels were much plainer. They do look pretty nice now. They've got kind of a reflective sheen to it. So that looks good. Overall, I don't really care about the presentation. Ultimately, what matters is the fragrance inside. I do like the stickers, I like the different graphics that each fragrance has, and the atomizer on these is so-so. Yeah, see, they're okay, they'll get the job done, they're just not amazing. Now that's nothing against the house, I understand they've got to do their hustle, they got to do their thing. It's cost prohibitive for a lot of houses to have custom made bottles done, but understand what you're getting. Dua fragrances to me are a bit on the pricey side for what you're getting. This one I believe is priced at $60 for a 30 ml bottle. I know there are going to be people out there that say, wait, that's before a discount. So let's go ahead and factor that in and say that with the 15% discount, this would be $51 for a 30 ml or 1 ounce size bottle. Now when you factor that out price-wise, 3 of these would get you 90 mils, which is close to a 100 ml bottle, which is your typical 3.3 or 3.4 ounce size. So you're close at that point. That much fragrance is gonna run you $153 with a 15% discount or $180 without it. For a clone fragrance, because that's what this is, it's a clone, it's a take on Aventus, that basically puts it as the most expensive clone on the market, price per ml. But price-wise, this has to kick serious ass to even really warrant any kind of consideration for me just because of how expensive it is. And I know it comes off as more affordable because you're purchasing it in bite-sized chunks basically. And some people out there might say, well, 30 mils is all you need. Fair enough, if that's how you roll, no problem. But it's just difficult for me to wrap my head around, kind of. Because you have fragrances like this one, Pineapple Vintage Intense, which again is a take on Aventus. This is a 100 ml bottle, and it runs $98 for 100 mils. So this one is also at the upper end of clones in terms of pricing, and yet it works out to be about $1 per milliliter, whereas this works out to be $2 per milliliter. And if we start talking about things like Insurrection Pure 2, Club de Nuit Intense Man, L'Aventure, then this becomes much more expensive. Because you can pick up a 90 milliliter bottle of Insurrection Pure 2 for under $20. The reason I'm talking about all these different clones that really have nothing to do with this Dua release is to give you an idea of the price structure that we're talking about so that I can evaluate this based off of how much it costs versus what you're getting and what you could potentially get from other releases for much less. Let's just talk about this one really quickly. When I first spray this on, it smells okay. Does it smell amazing? No, it doesn't. To me, does it smell 95% similar to Aventus? Absolutely not. Legitimately, I think the opening to Insurrection Pure 2 by Ray and Tradition smells better than this. Pineapple Vintage Intense blows it absolutely out of the water. Club de Nuit Intense Man, I don't like the opening to that. So, I would say this probably smells better than the opening of Club de Nuit Intense Man, but it's just not very impressive, especially considering the price that you're paying here. $51 for a 30 ml bottle. For 50 bucks on FragranceNet, you can score some absolutely killer designers that are gonna work much better in more situations than you can this one. And for the price, if you go on Facebook with some of the fragrance groups that are on there, Fine Scents, for example, Fragrance Swap, there are lots of others, you can get actual decants of real Aventus for about the same price as this. So if you're gonna get a 30 ml bottle, why get a clone when you can just buy the real thing for the same price? So when you first spray this fragrance on 13ZZ, you get mainly bergamot and apple. Doesn't really smell supernatural. The actual pineapple that people look for in Aventus, it's not there. To my nose, it's just not. If I told you it would be me trying to convince myself that it's there, even though I'm not really picking it up. Basically, the vibe that I get from this is that it's close to Aventus. It's got that DNA, but it's lacking something. Mainly, again, just kind of a bergamot apple combination with a little bit of the birch underneath, but it's not actually smoky. Like, people talk about smoky Aventus, and I've smelled that before, of course, but there's none to be found here. Which is funny because when you talk about vintage batches, it's all about the smoke, right? People are always like,
oh, the smoke, the birch.
It's not here. Smoke? No. And about 10 minutes in, as this dries down, it goes off the rails for me. It really does. It doesn't smell good. And what's funny about this is I described it to other people who haven't smelled it yet, other reviewers. And I said that off my skin, it was coming across like fresh bedding that you would put in a rodent's cage. And I don't mean that like pea-covered bedding, you know, like in a pet store. But if you bought it fresh, you know, like the bedding, the wood chips and everything that you would put into the bottom of like a hamster cage, it has an undertone that smells like that. Some people might say it's kind of an herbal undertone that's weird, but I get this animal cage undertone. And what's funny about that is there was a post in my group earlier today where people were talking about this fragrance, and somebody else on that group mentioned that off their skin it smelled like hamster shavings. And I thought that was kind of funny because that's exactly how it comes off my skin as well. And obviously, that's not good. And when I had my wife smell the dry down to this, her words were literally, "It fucking reeks." So she's not a fan. And I know this really sounds like I'm busting on it, and I'm not trying to come across overly harsh, like I don't have an axe to grind, I honestly don't care. But it's just not that good. And for the amount of hype that started to build up around it, I'm kind of left scratching my head as to whether I have the same fragrance that some other people have. So maybe there are some serious batch variations going on with 13ZZ. Maybe they're keeping in line with Creed's tradition and every single batch that they make of this is different. Maybe some of these bottles smell magnificent and others not so much. I really don't know because I just have this one. It's not like I have 6 different bottles to test against to see if they're all the exact same. And performance for me as well is not very good. 4 to 5 hours seems to be what I'm averaging here. I've worn it for the last 4 days, and it's just not really a performance beast. Projection is good for the first 30 minutes, and then it starts to sit pretty close to the skin and eventually just disappears. And no, I'm not going nose blind to it. Other people can't smell it either. In the very far dry down, it's pretty forgettable. Most of that funky animal cage kind of smell, it does go away. And then it's just kind of a weak birch, a little tiny touch of sweetness. It's just really unimpressive. And like I said, this is the first duo that I've ever smelled. And I am sure with the number of releases they have out there that some of them are really good. And I would be open to smelling more of them and hopefully come across some real winners. All I have to go off of here is what's in this bottle. And it's not something that I would recommend you to buy. If you're gonna pay that much, either go with Pineapple Vintage Intense or the real thing. There are lots of cheap alternatives out there that last more off my skin, that smell better from the opening to the dry down, with better presentations, that are super cheap. Like the ones I've already mentioned, Insurrection Pure 2 by Rayon Tradition, Club de Nuit Intense Man by Armaf, L'Aventure by Al Haramain. Again, going back to the price for the 8 millionth time, for this same price per milliliter, you can get things that are in the vein of Aventus, niche fragrances, stuff like Cedrat Boisé by Mancera, Scent of Peace for Him by Bond Number 9, BondNumber9.com, again, Bond Number 9, and Mikolov Royal Vintage. Lots of niche fragrances out there that give you a similar feel for about the same price per milliliter, maybe even less. And I know I keep harping on that, but you have to factor in price when you're talking about clones. There we have it, Dua Poseidon's Elixir 13ZZ. I know this video is gonna piss some people off. That's not what I'm going for. But it just kind of becomes strange when every single video done on Dua is hyper ultra positive and they're all 95% similar or more. And then you see in the comments section lots of people who are having completely different reactions to the fragrances. And I know that this is super divisive, the house I mean. And I know it's gonna piss them off doing this video, but you would think that with the amount of reviews that have been done on Dua fragrances, that at least some of those wouldn't work for the person reviewing them. But every time, they're the best thing ever. It makes you wonder. Also, just to point this out, this has set for over a week. A lot of people, when it comes to Dua fragrances, they say that when you get them in, you have to let them mature for a week or so before you wear it, and then it'll smell better. So I guess they're saying that it hasn't been sitting long enough, the oils haven't mixed together properly, and so you should let it sit for a week and then it will smell better. This has been sitting for over a week, so it should be good to go, hypothetically. All you Dua lovers, I don't mean to offend you, all you Dua haters, dial that hate back. You know, and if I ever smell a Dua fragrance that I really like, I will bring that to your guys' attention. If I smell one that I think is just a knockout clone, one that rules, I will let you guys know. Because a lot of you out there are saying, you know, some Dua fragrances project better, last longer than the original, even smell better. I don't know. And if I get another Dua fragrance in the future that really, really sucks, I will also let you know. I'm sure this video will get more thumbs down than just about anything I've ever done. Go me. Look at me filming this after the fact like an idiot. One of the things I wanted to bring up in the video, which I forgot to, which is why I'm bringing it up now, is that in my opinion, I believe this beyond a shadow of a doubt. If you take the fragrance that's in the 13ZZ bottle, the exact same fragrance, don't change a thing. You put that into an Arm Off bottle or an Al Haramain bottle, sell it at a 30 ml size for a $60 price retail. And I know that you can get discounts and everything, but even say $40. A 30 ml bottle, $40 retail, Arm Off, Al Haramain, whatever. The exact same fragrance. It would be ridiculed on every single Facebook group. It would be ridiculed by reviewers. It would be trashed. People would tell you not to buy it. They would say it's way, way crazy overpriced. Arm Off, Al Haramain, whoever would get made fun of for making yet another Aventus clone. It would just be completely trashed. But because it's a Dua release and it's been hyped already, everybody kind of looks the other way. Because every single time that Dua does a new release, it gets hyped. And I'm gonna give this away because realistically, I will never wear this. After we hit 500 likes, I will choose a comment from below using random comment picker and then pin that comment to the top of the comment section. Whoever won, reach out to me either through email or through YouTube Messenger. Give me your address and I will send this to you. So make sure to check back at 500 likes. That way one of you out there can go ahead and claim this bad boy. Just do leave in the comments that you want to be entered. That way I know that you're actually wanting this, okay? And one entry per person, please. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe. I will see you guys next time.